I'm going to be honest with you. This video only exists because I couldn't come up with a video idea. As a creator, one challenge I recently faced is how to bridge the gap between what interests me to what actually connects with you. And trying to force it is exactly where I went wrong. So how do we fix this? If you are or have ever hit a mental wall, by the end of this video, you will understand why your best thinking happens when you aren't trying and how to work with your brain instead of against it. So let's go. So in order to solve this issue, we need to understand the core problem. When we need an idea, our instinct is to lock ourselves in a room and stare at a screen or paper, which we call focusing. And through this focus, we expect the light bulb to turn on and the perfect idea to appear in front of us. But the truth is that hyperfocus is actually a trap for creativity. Don't get me wrong, focusing is super important for when you are actually executing your idea, but it is terrible for the brainstorming phase. Think about YouTube. Some of the most interesting videos you have ever watched were likely not the ones you searched for. Searching being like focusing in this case because you are narrowing down what you're looking for. But instead, those interesting videos appeared on your home page because YouTube connected something you already like to something you've never seen before. Now, that is the way your brain actually works when it's being creative. It takes memories, experiences, observations, and questions and starts connecting them in ways you never actually consciously planned. But when you're sitting in front of a blank page, desperately trying to force an idea, your brain isn't actually discovering new connections. It is usually revisiting the same ones. Now, this is called focused mode, one of the two major states of your brain. It is the mode you use when you are studying for a test or editing an essay. And biologically, it is designed to do one thing really well: filter out distractions. At this moment, the prefrontal cortex of your brain becomes highly active. Neurons in this region begin firing in coordinated patterns, helping you stay on task and additionally working with a network called the reticular activating system, which helps determine which sensory information deserves your attention. Since your eyes, ears, and skin are all sending enormous amounts of information to your brain, the reticular activating system acts like a filter. It reduces the importance of irrelevant signals and allows task-relevant information to reach conscious awareness. But this rarely works for creativity because creative ideas come from connecting things that seem unrelated. And that is very difficult to do if your attention is locked into a single path. And that is why the second mode is super important, called diffuse mode. In this state, activity increases in a network of brain regions known as the default mode network. This network includes areas such as the medial prefrontal cortex, posterior cingulate cortex, and parts of the parietal lobe. Rather than focusing on a single task, these regions of the brain help connect memories, experiences, and emotions from different parts of the brain. At the same time, the brain continues a process called memory consolidation. The hippocampus, a structure in the brain involved in forming memories, replays patterns of neural activity that occurred during learning and experiences. This replay helps strengthen connections between neurons and integrates new information into existing knowledge networks. As these memories and experiences are being replayed and reorganized, something interesting begins to happen. Ideas that were previously stored in separate neural networks suddenly have the opportunity to interact. In other words, your brain actually becomes more efficient when you stop micromanaging it. This is why breakthroughs frequently happen when you're doing things like walking, driving, taking a shower, or exercising, because despite what it feels like, your brain doesn't actually stop working when you walk away from a problem. It's just approaching the problem differently. So how do we approach this problem differently? First is the collection phase. Feed your brain with raw material. Read articles outside your comfort zone, watch videos on topics you know nothing about, and pay attention to small details during your day. You are essentially filling up the database your default mode network uses later to build ideas. Next is strategic distraction. This is the hardest part because it feels like quitting. When you hit a mental wall, you have to force yourself to step away from the desk. But here's the catch. Scrolling on social media does not count because those activities still use engagement from your prefrontal cortex, as studies showed that social media triggers a spike in beta and gamma brainwaves, which are shown to be associated with active thinking and cognitive overstimulation, rather than the actual rest your brain needs. Instead, you need low-effort automated tasks. Go do the dishes, take a walk, or fold your laundry, because these routine actions allow your memories, thoughts, and questions to finally collide in the background. And lastly is the capturing phase. Because your brain is relaxed, those sudden aha moments will slip away just as fast as they appeared. You need a reliable net to catch them. The absolute second an idea pops into your head while you're taking a walk or washing your hands, write it down immediately. Don't trust your brain to remember it later. Just use your phone's notes app, a voice memo, or a physical notebook. Now, I should probably warn you that this process rarely happens on your own schedule. Sometimes the idea appears 5 minutes after you step away. Sometimes it takes days. Sometimes it takes weeks. And honestly, that is okay. Your brain isn't a machine that produces ideas on command. It is a system that builds connections over time. The more experiences, questions, curiosities, and observations you feed it, the more material it has to work with. So take a step away, stay curious, stay observant, and keep collecting. And trust that even when it feels like nothing is happening, your brain is often doing some of its most important work behind the scenes. The funny thing is that this video began with a problem. I couldn't come up with an idea. And the solution wasn't thinking harder. It was when I just took a step back and stopped overthinking it. Because sometimes our best ideas come when we just step out of our own way.